And we're off. Welcome everyone. We'll give everyone about, 3 to 5 minutes to jump in here before we get started. We have a pretty big crowd today. We're expecting in the range of 1,000 participants. So we'll just hang tight a little bit, make sure everyone gets that email, give everyone plenty of time to jump in. So that's pretty exciting. I'm excited to have such a big turnout this week. We've got a lot of great events this April. So hopefully you guys are, if not just signed up for this one, but for Wednesday and Friday as well. Don't worry if you're not. We'll talk more about those as they get closer. But first off, I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a line in the chat. Let's see where you're at, where you're from, how familiar you are with the corkboard. Love to hear that. Let me know. I'll keep an eye on that and pull up my notes while I'm waiting for everyone to get here. There we go. Priscilla, welcome from Las Vegas. Okay, Dennis from the Netherlands. Oh boy, here it goes. Chat's going quicker than I can keep up with. Oh, I see someone from Ghana. That's great. Welcome. Let me see if I can find that. My wife is from Ghana, so that's why I'm excited to see Ghana on here. Let's see here. Oh, I lost it again. Oh, well, welcome. Is it Daniel? Daniel, welcome from Ghana. Happy to have you here. We have Switzerland, San Francisco, Denmark, Seattle, Virginia, San Francisco again, Arizona. Welcome. I'd say all your names, but they're coming faster than I can keep up with. Steve, welcome from Toronto. If I catch your name. Um, Chrissy, welcome from CT. I've had Scrivener for a while now, but I know I can make better use of it. Oh, I hear that all the time, Chrissy. I'm sure you're doing a great job, but yes, of course, I am excited to be here with you to help you guys take advantage of this great software and to learn how to use it better to improve your writing processes. Rod from Utah, welcome. Cambridge, UK. Ken, welcome. Esmeralda from New York. Good to have you here. Excellent. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to start picking on these people who are telling me what they're doing. So Becky says she uses Scrivener for her genealogy research. That's interesting. I've never heard that one. That's a first for me, Becky. That's cool. And that's one thing I love about Scrivener. It's very versatile. You can use it to write novels. You can use it to write screenplays. You can do it for genealogy research. You can do it for basically any kind of massive, big project where you want to keep track of key elements, whether that's text or video or audio or you name it, whatever you're trying to do. Lots of different use cases here. Walter says, "Hi all, I'm Walter from he's a journalist author, currently living in Bulgaria." Oh, welcome. You've been using Scrivener for 15 plus years. Great. That's why I love to hear it, but never used the corkboard. So very curious. That's interesting to me. That it's so interesting to see people who have used Scrivener for a long time, but have never really used the corkboard. Well, you're in for a treat today. It's a great tool. I'm excited to talk all about it. We're going to dive right in here in just a couple more minutes. Give everyone just a little bit longer. Looks like we're ranging in the round around 300 participants so far. So I'm guessing we'll have anywhere from 300 to 400 people show up. Just kind of how it goes. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll give them just a couple more minutes. And for those of you who, if you're anyone's concerned about rewatching this or seeing it again, don't worry. There will be a replay available, and I'll get you those links here shortly. Okay, well, great. I love the corkboard, says Winifred. Use Scrivener, but not the corkboard. Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's one of those views that a lot of Scrivener is very well known for, but I'm surprised at how many people don't use it. This great tool, and so I'm excited to share that with you. Okay, scrolling down, scrolling down. Oh my, so many great people. The only downside of having such a big crowd is it's harder for me to narrow in on you and get to know get to know everyone. I love reading out your names and seeing where you're from and what's going on here. Priscilla says, "I'm revising my novel and plan to use a corkboard to re-outline." Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. That's a great idea. We have Jim from Michigan. He's a Scrivener rookie, used in part for first published book. Great. Josh is also a literary fiction author in Boston. Welcome. Brenda's used Scrivener for nonfiction book, but now using it for a novel. But again, I don't really use the corkboard. Okay, well, it's good. It's good. We got a lot of people who are really unfamiliar with the corkboard and how it works, so that's great. This is going to be a great session for everyone. Whether you've used a corkboard in the past, or you've kind of dabbled in it, or you just don't have any idea what it is or how to even take advantage of this great feature, we'll talk all about it. Okay, so Karen says writing novels in it for 10 years, but barely use it effectively. Love it though. Oh, that's great. I'm glad. I'm glad. Okay, well, we got a lot of new people here. I can see some Scrivener people who've only been using it for a while. We've had some longtime users who've been using it for, 10, 5, 10, 15 years. So it's good to see we've got lots of different skill levels here. There's going to be something here for everyone. So let me go ahead and pull up my notes. I have a question for you guys. I'm going to ask you real quick, and then we're going to dive right in here in probably just a minute or two as I look at that. So well, let me find it here. I love to have a little engagement question to kind of get your minds thinking. I've kind of already asked whether you've used this Scrivener's corkboard feature before and what your experience with it. So I think I'll choose a different one than what I had planned. Um, okay, so if you could wave a magic wand and solve one organizational challenge in your writing process, what would it be? And so whatever that may be, what's the biggest challenge you have with keeping things organized? Be that in Scrivener, out of Scrivener, wherever. Let me know. Let's see what we got in the chat here. I'm gonna switch back over to my screen here and see if I can get that. Okay, so we have I don't even remember that existed. Finding information quickly. Okay, yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. Sometimes you get bogged down in all this stuff in your project. It can be challenging to find that one little piece of information. You know, you kind of have an idea of it, but you can't remember precisely what it was. Having a clear overview, timeline organization. Susan, we're going to talk a little bit about timeline organization today, and how I handle that specific feature in Scrivener. Spoiler alert, I use labels, and we'll talk more about that and how that you can use that in the corkboard view. Now, there's a lot of fun ways you can do it. Tracking what happened before, say what happened in the past, a saggy middle, so like you're struggling at the middle. I'm assuming of a novel, right? How to weave together several storylines. Okay, so plots, subplots, so multiple story arcs, right? How do I keep these in sync with each other? How do I see what's going on where? Yeah, that's another great one. I use labels for, especially if you're running a multi-viewpoint novel, that becomes really easy with labels, and I'll show you how I handle that particular thing, that particular issue or problem. Welcome, Jimmy from Dallas. Great. I'm in Texas right now, so I'm always good. Happy to see another Texan. Outlining, okay, too many docs for a story. My biggest challenge is tracking sources, citations. So that's definitely a more nonfiction issue. But yes, it's kind of the same kind of problem here, trying to find and keep track of things. Not okay. Let's see. Timeline organization. I'm seeing a lot of timeline. Too many ideas. File structure. Okay, great. Well, the good news is we're going to cover a lot of this, okay? And stuff, even there are some things I'm seeing here that I've covered in the past. So you're going to want to look back in also some of our webinar backlog, some of our previous replays, and see some of this stuff too. But we are going to cover a lot of this, so a lot of good stuff coming your way. Looks good. Hard to summarize chapters sometimes. Biggest challenge is an organized and easy view outline with different plot points and subplots. Okay, okay. I'm seeing the thread here, so that's good. We'll definitely cover that. And if I don't cover anything like close to that, let me know at the end. We'll have a Q&A, and I can dig a little bit deeper into it because um, I am going to kind of do surface level. We're going to look at a lot of the core features of the corkboard, kind of simply how they work, how to potentially use them, and then maybe as we get close to the end, especially during that Q&A, we can really dig deeper in specific questions. Say, hey, how can I solve this specific problem with the corkboard? Okay. Well, here we go. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We're 6 minutes after the hour. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then I have just a little intro here, and we'll get going. Okay. So I just want to say welcome everyone to our April 2025 Scrivener webinar series brought to you by the creative minds behind Scrivener and Scapple, Literature and Latte. I'm Oliver Evanson, your host today, bringing you insights drawn from over 15 years of writing and Scrivener expertise. Now, whether you're a seasoned author or just starting your writing adventure, our webinars are designed with your needs in mind. Today, we'll be exploring a writer's guide to using Scrivener's corkboard. And remember, we have a member of our dedicated support team member standing right by here to tackle any technical issues and to answer your questions throughout the session. So I do have Catherine moderating today. And considering that we have such a large crowd, please, if you can, put all of those questions in the Q&A for her so she can find them. It's just with so many people, we just can't keep up with that chat. So if you encounter any issues, please reach out to her directly in the Q&A. Okay. Now, for those who wish to revisit today's session and share it with your fellow writers, this webinar is being recorded. Okay, and you can find that replay link on my YouTube channel tomorrow, and you enjoy it ad-free next week in the Literature and Latte webinar library. And those links will be provided shortly, so stay tuned for that. We'll get those out to you in just a little bit. Okay, and if you have to dive out early, that's fine too. Just send me an email. We'll get you taken care of one way or the other. Okay, so here we go. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Oliver Evanson. I'm a writer, editor, and mentor with 15 years of Scrivener and writing expertise. And I'm so excited to teach you what I have learned in my position as the outreach specialist for Literature and Latte, the creators of Scrivener and Scapple. Now, I absolutely love connecting with other like minded writers. And if you'd like to connect with me, please send me an email. I get tons of emails. I try to read through them all and answer as many as I can. And, or better yet, if you want to receive specific feedback from me, join my newsletter. I frequently send out valuable tips and techniques to help you become a better writer. And all subscribers do receive a free copy of my free starter novel template. And if you'd like to see what I'm working on in Scrivener myself, you can subscribe to my author website, which is currently oliverevanson.substack.com, or use that QR code right there. Okay. Well, now that we're better acquainted, let's just spend a couple minutes here outlining the schedule for today's session. It's pretty simple, but let's go right through it. To begin with, I'll provide a short introduction to our topic and what you should expect to learn today. Next, we'll move on into our training, where I'll cover my guide to using Scrivener's Corkboard for writers. And last but not least, I'll wrap it up by providing you all with a wealth of great free resources you can utilize to deepen your understanding of Scrivener and improve your writing skills. I'll also leave ample time for our Q&A at the end, where I'll do my best to answer as many of your questions as I can, time permitting, right? We have a pretty big crowd, so we have a lot of questions going that way, but I'll do as many as I possibly can. Okay. Now, there's nothing I hate more than attending a live webinar or event and waiting 45 minutes before the presenter ever even gets to his training, if he gets to it at all. This is why I always establish clear expectations for what I promise to teach in each of my sessions. So, in this webinar, you can expect to learn these 4 skills. I promise to teach you how to use and customize Scrivener's corkboards, index cards to organize your project effectively, how to master the different corkboard views to tailor your workflow to your creative needs, how to adjust corkboard options such as card size, spacing, keyword chips to design a workspace that supports your storytelling or your writing process. And last but not least, how to outline and refine your manuscript using corkboard tools, from adding synopsises to rearranging and printing your plan along for like analog brainstorming, if that's your thing. Okay. Now, I'm confident by the conclusion of this presentation, you will leave today confident in your ability to use Scrivener's Corkboard as a powerful tool to organize, outline, and elevate your writing process. Okay, let's begin. Okay. Let me just grab a drink real quick before we get too far. There we go. Okay, all right, writers. Let's start by exploring one of Scrivener's most versatile features, the index card. Think of this as your creative control center, where every idea takes shape and gets organized. Here's everything you need to know on how to use it effectively. First off, we have the icon, a little tiny little icon in the top left corner of every index card. Every index card has one that, and this symbol sits in that top left corner of the card and helps you instantly identify what type of content you're working with, whether it's a folder, document, or something else. Next up, we have our title. Okay. This is your heading or a quick reference point. You use it to summarize the essence of that card. You can easily edit or change the card title directly in the corkboard, and the more specific the title, the better. Okay. Next up, we have our synopsis or summary. That's in this section right here at the bottom, right there. That's where, that's where you capture the main idea of your card. You can think of it as a kind of a succinct summary for the core concept of a chapter or scene or whatever it is that you're working on specifically. Now, Scrivener takes it a little bit further by giving us optional index card elements where you can customize your card to display additional cues like the card number itself. So you can show the card number, which helps you track the sequence of your ideas and how many cards you have, right? The label color for visual organization. We have the status stamp, where that card can stand out, can put things like to do or first draft directly in the corkboard, so you can see it visually right there in front of your face. Let's see here. And if you're a visual thinker, you're going to love using and showing images in your card. And I'll show you how to do that right now. Let me go ahead and share my screen. and we'll get on to it. Okay, perfect. Just make sure everyone can see that real quick. I think that looks good. Yep. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. Just make sure. Sorry, I just have to make sure. Sometimes Zoom, I get that wrong screen share. I would hate that to happen. Okay. Yep. Looks good on the preview here. Okay. So we're gonna start off with our icon. Now, real quick, let me just drag and drop this over here so I have my notes available to me, so I can see. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. Doesn't matter which one you use. You could use a blank one of these excellent fiction templates, nonfiction. All depends on what type of project you're working on. I imagine many of you already have your project set up and ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one using my free starter novel template for those of you who are unfamiliar with that template and how it works. Let me go ahead and come here. Now, typically, you can see I save my projects in Dropbox, Apps, Scrivener, okay? But for today's purposes, you can also save it in Documents, Scrivener projects, so long as you have a centralized location where you can find your projects. I save mine in Dropbox because I like to have them stored in the cloud and available on all my devices. But if you're just using a single device, Documents, Scrivener project is excellent as well. Let's go ahead and give that a name. I'm just going to call this my corkboard, the writer's corkboard. Why not? This is just a working title. It can be anything you like it to be. Okay, there we go. That's going to pop up there. Now, this template is set up as a series, but it doesn't really matter whether it's the series title is simply just a draft folder or a manuscript folder. In this case, I just have stored inside of a book folder as well. And so inside that I have acts, and inside that I could have also chapters. And if I went again, right, scenes, right? So let's jump right into the corkboard view. You can see it's actually already opened up. How do I get here if it doesn't pop up automatically? That's a great question. We can go to view and click corkboard, or we can click this little group mode right up here. Okay, this one right here takes us to Scrivening's view. This one takes us to corkboard mode, and this one takes us to the outliner mode. Okay, so we want the corkboard mode. Bear in mind, you're going to want to have a folder selected of some kind here so you can see what's inside of it. You can kind of see that previewed here. If I click book 1, it has act 1, 2A, 2B, and 3, right? If I clicked act 1, it has that chapter inside of it. I opened it up in the binder. You can see inside of it. Likewise, if I click the chapter, I can then see those two scenes right there. And you may have noticed already, right here is that icon right there. I was just talking about the top left corner of your index card. So the icon actually behaves just like in the binder here. If I drag and drop something in the binder, let's create another chapter template here like so. That chapter template like that. Okay. And if I drag and drop this over like so, it moves it up and down. Let's give these more distinct names. I'm going to call this the rising sun. And I'm going to call this the falling moon, right? Okay. So if I came to Act 1 right here, if I actually clicked and dragged this over like so, you see it moves in here. And I could also do the same thing. I could take this guy right here, click the icon. I could actually drag it anywhere I want to in the binder, whether it's out of Act 1, like so. I could drag this into Act 2, like that. If I come back to the book, I could then actually drag and drop this right back into Act 1 again. Same thing here. If I want to drag this over here, like that, boom. Just like that, okay? So that's our icon, right? It also gives you a visual idea of what it is you're looking at. In this case, we're looking at a folder. Now, if I've changed that icon, let's take, for example, the series folder. This icon right here is a custom icon, a book, right? If I right-click it, right-click it and go change icon, I could change it to a book like this, any one of these, or normally it would just look like this little folder right there, right? But I happen to change that one. But it gives me an idea of what I'm looking at. If I've used custom icons, I can easily identify what I'm working with. In this case, I would know this is a book folder, right? So if I came in here, let's say I added another book template like this, right? Now I can see I'm working with multiple books. We could call this book 2. Now, ideally, I want to give good titles and good names, but for now, we're going to keep it simple. Book 1, book 2, okay? A better title would be something like this, like The Rising Sun or The Falling Moon, something that gives me an idea of what's going on inside here, okay? And the title is really easy to change. Right here from the corkboard, I can double click inside. I can change that to whatever I want it to be. I could call this let's see here. Why don't you guys throw out some ideas for me? I love just having you guys throw out some what do you call it? Just some random names for me to use as examples. It's so much better than anything I'll think up myself. So I'll look at those in the chat. Purple Nurple. Thank you. Nice. Copy. Instantly, as soon as I ask, it happens. So this is the book Purple Nurple. Okay, and this one is the book. Let's see. Named it title two. Uh, nice. Named it title two. Why not? I'm gonna steal it. Why not? Oh, I'm gonna the red frog. I like that. I'm gonna steal that one instead. Thank you. It's a little bit better. Ah, the red frog. Okay. So I'm not sure. We got an interesting theme here, purple nurple and the red frog here. But I could go on and I could close it up and I could actually come here, right click, add new from template, and there I have my book templates there. And just so you know, these book templates, they're just folders with folders just inside of them. But this is included free with my starter novel template like this, right? I could keep coming and I could make a whole series here, right? Now, it's not very often, right, that I'm coming here and outlining for a whole book series like this, but you could come and say, oh, here's some general ideas of book names I'd like to do, right? Now, the cool part is with the icon, watch this, I can double click any one of these icons. It'll take me inside of that folder. So let's click Purple Nurple. Double click it, boom. Now I'm in Act 1, Act 2A, 2B, and Act 3. And you can kind of see it's highlighted here in the binder too. If you have the binder open, it shows me where I'm at. Let's go back, clicking this back button here. Let's double click the red frog instead. And you can see, oh, there it is. It has that one highlighted. So even if I have kind of generic names like this, I can still kind of use my binder here as a reference point for where I am in my project. Of course, if I have it turned off, that makes it a little bit more challenging, but um, that's why I recommend you have really good names. The better the names, the easier it is going to be identifying where you are in your project. And key here, simple, short is ideal, right? Okay, looking good. Okay, let's talk about synopsis summary, right? So for in this case, right, if I click my series title, right, or the manuscript and draft folder, whatever it is you're working with, right, from here I can actually start jumping in and I can give summaries for each of these books. So this is a book, oops, a book about the purple. Now, obviously, I want to do better than that, but you get the idea. I just type in there whatever I want it to be about. This book is about the red frog, right? Or who stole, oops, if I could spell, stole the blue goo, blue, right? So we can put anything we want in the synopsis. There's no limit here. We can just keep going. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this. You can kind of see this. It does get to a point, see where it goes out longer. I try to keep mine personally within the space the index card can show. It does allow me to go further, obviously, but personally, I like to keep it in a way that I just barely use it, or I just use it till it's just full. I don't want to go over if I can help it. Because the idea here is we're trying to keep this succinct. We want to keep this short, small, so we can read it at a glance really quickly and know what's going on either in a book, in a chapter, in a scene, in a section of your research paper, whatever the case may be, whatever you're working on. This just gives you a general idea, a simple idea of what's going on. That's why it's such a great outlining tool too, because you can come here and quickly add in some scene summary for anything you're working on, for any book, chapter, folder, document, you name it. So someone's asking, I see Louis says, can I use the synopsis for notes too? Yes, you certainly could use the synopsis for notes. Let me show you something here. If we go to Purple Nurple here, you can see every document folder also has its own dedicated notes section right here. So you could use it for notes. And sometimes when you're just starting out, that might be like generally what you do. This might start out as something really simple, right? And it kind of expands as the understanding of the scene or chapter or book comes into effect. Typically, I'll keep my main notes though right here in the document notes section or the folder notes section, and I'll keep the core idea or core concept in the synopsis. There's no right or one way to do it, really. It's just that's kind of how it's laid out. We have document notes here, individual documents for each document, and we have a synopsis for each one as well. So how you use it, up to you. Let's see here. Okay, let's talk about showing the card number now. It's really easy to turn on. If you don't know where to find it, we can actually just type in show card numbers like that. You can see I just typed into the help section. If you're on a Mac or a PC, doesn't matter. Go ahead and click that help icon there in the top menu, and then search show card numbers, and it'll actually take you to view corkboard options, and there they are, show card numbers. Now, personally, I'll be honest with you, this is not one I use a lot. I typically, because this is what happens. Let me show you. If we go into Act 1, it's you see how the numbers just kind of reset. So it's if we're looking at it like that 1 1, we're just looking inside the folder. That's where they've been numbered, which is still fine. It's great, but um, personally, I just don't use it that often. Say I have book 1, 2, book 3, and if I had, let's say, I think yeah, let me see here. Yeah, this is where it gets kind of weird for me. When we have these numbers like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, it can get kind of funky. So whether you like it or not, it's fine. It's really easy to turn off. It's really easy to turn on, whichever way you want it. We can go to help, corporate options, show those card numbers like so. So we'll leave it on for a little bit, just kind of see what it looks like, how we feel like when we're using it, and you can make that decision for yourself. And the next thing we're going to look at is potentially turning on the label color as well. Now, we don't currently have any labels assigned, but let's go ahead and do some of that. We're going to go ahead and go to View, Corkboard Options, and this time we're going to actually use label color in. Yeah, I think we want it in index cards. So it's View, use label color in index cards. Let's see here. Okay, right there. This one is already turned on, so we have show label colors along the edges. So let's actually look at that first. I'm going to turn this off real quick, and you can see what that looks like. I'm going to set a label color for each of these. So this one will be red. There it is, all on the edge. And I like that. I like how it's just kind of like along the edge there. Not quite so in my face. This will be orange. And let's do a blue. Okay, actually, let's change orange. Orange is too similar to red. Let's do a green, right? Like that. So we have red, green, and blue. And we can see those already along the edge. Now, if you wanted to, you could come and turn that default off like this. It would turn it off. That's View, Corporate Options, Show Label Colors Along Edges, like that. Okay. Now, if I wanted to, I could also use the label color in for the entire index card, right? So I go to View, Use Label Color in Index Cards. And boom, now it gives it not just the edge, but the whole index card. Now, personally, that's a bit much for me, especially if I have a lot going on my project. That can be a lot. So maybe you might want to try it, turn it on, see if you like it. If not, that's fine. You can turn it off. We'll go ahead and turn that one back off. Okay, so we just have it along the edge like that. I love that, just along the edge. Okay, next up we have our status stamp. Now, if we have statuses set for these, then we can easily turn this on or off. We can go to View, Corporate Options, and there it is, Show Status Stamps. Okay, boom, there it says to do, to do, to do. And thankfully, because I use templates, right, all my templates already had the to do assigned here. If I wanted to, if I know what what labels I want to use, I can also come to my template and add a label in really easily. Not a problem, right? But right here we have a series title, to do, to do, to do, like so. If I double click inside Purple Nurple, we'll see those right there. Let's go back into the red frog. Same thing, I have these all set to do. If I didn't have to do set, it would just say nothing, be no status, be nothing there. But if I have it set to do, it'll show it there right for me. Now, some people like this, some people don't. If you look at it, like for me, if I have a synopsis set, it kind of is difficult to read. So typically I don't keep this one turned on. But if that's something you need that visual sign, like, hey, this is being worked on, that's a great way to turn that on and do it. Okay. We can go back and turn that off by going to View Corporate Options and do Show Status Stamps, and we can uncheck that to take them off. Totally up to you. Just want to show you that that option is available to you. Personally, though, I'm really like how this is looking. I've got my numbering here. I've got my labels along the edge. That's looking really slick. Now let's say we wanted to bring an image in. Now this is particularly useful for things like characters, right? In this case, I don't have any characters pulled up here, but we're gonna go ahead and click over here. I'm gonna click Add Character Sketch. Okay, and maybe I'll come in here and add in my irresistible character sketch too. Why not? Whether you have a character sheet, character sketch, whatever it is you're using, you can the process is the same. And you can see by default already my corkboard for the character sketch is already set to dropping an image in here. Let's click the characters folder here and view it in the corkboard mode. So right now what we're seeing here is a preview of what is inside of the index card. So if you don't have anything in your synopsis, Scrivener will automatically preview what's there. Okay, that's what's going on here. Now in our case, we're going to go ahead and add in some images. I'm going to go ahead and open up my Finder here, go to my demo examples. Let's put this over to the right here. I'm going to find some images here. I could just drag them in one at a time, or I can bring in that whole folder, a little bit more organized. Let's stick it into researches, and I'll drag and drop it right there. Okay, so I've got my images inside now. How do I go ahead and assign that to one of these sketches? Okay, let let's pull out some names. If you guys have any names for me, throw them out into the chat for me. I'll grab some names there. I'll throw these in here. What characters we have for the purple nurple and the red fog and the blue glue? Something along those kind of three lines. Maurice McDingus. Okay, I like it. Okay, Maurice character McDingus. I'm taking that one. That's good. That's a good one. We used to like that. Okay, good. We could create a couple more if we wanted. Let's do like let's do 5. So okay, looking good. Gwyneth, I like it. Okay. And we're just going to duplicate these. If you wonder how to duplicate, you can right click and just click duplicate like this, or you can use Command D on a Mac or Control D on a PC. I'll just paste in new one. Okay, let's do one more. Mr. Happy Man. Okay. Thank you, Natalie, for that wonderful addition. Mr. Happy Man. I feel like Mr. Happy Man would be a bad guy, be a villain. Just saying. He sounds like he's too happy. Let's throw this in there. Okay. There we go. Mr. Oops, I didn't get Mr. Happy Man. Just type it in. Mr. Happy Man. There we go. Okay, so we've got 5 characters here. I'm going to split my editor, top right corner. Click that right that. And then we're going to come to our images right here. Okay, let's see. Mr. Happy Man. So I could take, let's lock this into place. We're going to go right click, lock into place. We're going to keep Mr. Happy Man there. Okay, and what we're going to do, let's see if this, it's been a minute since I've done this. Let's drag it over like this. Yes. So we can literally just drag it on top like that. So, did that work? Or no, it didn't work. Just dragged into my mistake, guys. It's been a minute since I've dragged them in. It might actually be easier if I just did it externally. Let's go ahead and pull this over to the left. Let's go to our images like this. And actually, I can just drag it in like this. So Mr. Happy Man. There we go. Boom, like that. A little bit easier outside. There is a way to do it inside of Scrivener. It's just been a minute since I've done it. Let me see if I can figure it out. But let's pull it over to the right like that. It's really easy to just drag them in like that. We can go to Mr. Dingus here. Like so. Let's unlock the inspector here. And let's make this a bit smaller. There we go. So we have Mr. Dingus right that. McDingus. We have Maurice, right? So Maurice, we're going to do as this one right here. Obviously, if you have better pictures you can use that match what you're working on, it's great. I'm just going to drag and drop these. We will do, I can even, Belzebuth, and then we'll do Gwendolyn as this one right here. So I can just drag and drop them in like that. And it's that simple. Bring it in. And so if I want to switch back at any point to the index card, I can just click this little button right here, the top right corner of my inspector. Okay. And I can also go to, let's say, the corkboard like this, right? So whichever one I have selected here is what it's going to show. So this is the inspector, the top right corner here. When I switch those back over to the text synopsis, it'll show that in my corkboard here. If I switch these back over to the image in the inspector, then it'll show me the image instead. And that's a matter of preference, however you want to do that. We do get, depending on the type of image, you'll get a little bit different shapes here, but that's the idea. It looks like we didn't get a picture for him, but there we go. That's how that would work. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll have to. It's been a minute since I've done it from inside Scrivener. I know there's a way to bring the image into the Scrivener like this, but it's a little bit more challenging than I remember it. So if I remember how to do that one, no, we'll we'll look at it at the end if we need to. But it's so easy if you just pull it right out of Scrivener, stick it right in there. Easy to do. Drag and drop just like that. Okay, looking good. Yes, you did see. You did see a personal hygiene stat. Let's look at that real quick. So this is my irresistible hero sketch. So yes, I have eye color, hair description, stature and body type, facial features. I love no stone unturned here, guys. I even have little explanations as to what it is. So like, is your character always neat and tidy, or are they more unkempt? This can reveal a lot about their lifestyle, personality. So obviously, when I create a character, I don't fill these out like verbatim, like all the way through and like get everything figured out. I'm actually more of a pantser than people realize. I look like an outliner, but I'm really more of a pantser. And so what I do is I kind of just fill out what's interesting to me at the time for the character, and I'll come back and I'll kind of fill this out as I'm writing, you know. So yeah, I kind of I just want to have everything there for me to think about. And then if I'm like, oh, this is something obvious about this character, I stick it in that section there. So there we go. Mr. Happy Man. I imagine he has like he's really neat and controlling. That's how I could see that that character. Okay, looking good. So let's jump back into the presentation. That's the index card in a nutshell. You can see there's a couple different ways we can view that, and depending on which folder we have selected gives us a different view of what we're looking at. So from this case, we're looking at acts. If we click the act folder, we're looking at chapters. If we click the chapter folder, we're looking at scenes. And if we click inside, actually, one thing that's really cool about this, if we start from the top, we can go all the way down to Act 1, into chapter 1 right here, into scene 1 here, and then we click it again, it actually takes us directly into the editor where we can start writing. And the best part is if I have anything stored in my synopsis for my scene here, it'll be there as well. So I'll be able to use that and have access to that outline directly inside as I'm working on that specific scene. Now I can backtrack, right? Click the back button to take me back into the corkboard. Back again takes me back into the chapters of Act 1. Back again takes me into all of the different parts or acts of this book. And back again takes me back to all 3 books that I'm working on right now. Okay, I'll have to look at that. Alice, if you could drop that question into the Q&A, that'll help Catherine get to those a lot quicker for you. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna switch back here real quick. Moving right along. Okay. So this card is more than just a writing tool. It's your story's roadmap. It keeps you organized, flexible, and inspired. From big picture outlines to the minute details, this is where your masterpiece starts to come together. It's the building blocks, if you will. So next, we're going to look at how you can refine your workflow with 3 different corkboard views or modes. Let's take a peek at it. Okay, so now that we've explored the index card, it's time to unlock the potential of Scrivener's Corkboard by understanding its 3 views or modes. Okay, each view has its own advantages and potentially disadvantages depending on your point of view, depending on how you like to organize and visualize your ideas. Now, first up, we have the linear view, which is just basically what I call the classic or default corkboard layout that we just looked at. Okay, this is where your index cards are neatly displayed in rows and columns, and any change you make here will also be made in the binder. Okay, it's perfect when you want to see your story laid out linearly, simple, clean, and to the point. If you prefer this kind of structured approach, this is your option. This is your go-to. That's the reason why it's the default view. Okay, it's going to be good for most people. And then next up, we have the freeform view. Now, imagine having a blank tabletop to spread out all of your index cards. It could be or even a whiteboard or something where you can kind of pin them up with magnets or something. This view gives you total freedom to organize your ideas without being bound by rows or grids or columns or any of that stuff. It's really great for brainstorming or experimenting, kind of gathering different ideas together when you're still trying to figure out the connections between your scenes or whatever it is you're working on. Now, unlike the default view, you can move your cards freely without the changes affecting your binder's structure until you're actually ready to commit to the new order of the new card order. Okay. Now, another great feature, arguably one of my favorites, is the arrange by label. Now, with this, you can group your cards based on their assigned label colors, helping you create visual patterns at a glance. And I find this particularly useful for tracking character arcs, especially for key viewpoint characters. This helps me keep track of their plots, subplots, etc., because I can see the cards visually represented in a timeline-like environment. This is great, for those of you who are really struggling with that. How do I see the timeline? If I have multiple characters and multiple timelines, I can see where they line up in this view, and I'll show you how that works. When the index cards are arranged by label, Scrivener also allows you to view these cards either horizontally or vertically. So it doesn't really matter which one you like. I personally prefer, I think it's the horizontal view from like start to finish. Know why? Just like it versus the top to bottom. But whatever makes sense to you, go for it. I'll show you how to toggle those back and forth. And here's where things get really exciting. You can actually easily move cards across the thread. Okay, so you just drag it from one thread to another, and it's moved to that new label. I love that. It's actually I actually prefer assigning labels in that way versus going to the inspector and clicking the label from a drop down menu. It's so nice to just drag, drop, move things right where I want them. So it really makes restructuring your story effortless, easy, just plain awesome. Okay, so let's see it in action. Louis says drag, drop, drag, drop. I love drag and drop. It's just there's something intuitive about just like dragging it, dropping it, dragging it, dropping it. It's just easy. It's just simple to do. So let's go ahead and do it. Let me show you. I see Robert, you're asking threads. Does he mean between folders? I'll show you what I mean. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here again. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Okay. Lost it. Come on. There we go. Okay. Okay. Hopefully you can see that now. And I'm going to quickly grab my notes too, so I have them available to me. Oop. There we go. Okay, so let's start with let's look at the linear one again. So this is the linear one. In case you didn't notice it last time, when I physically move things around in my corkboard here, it moves them. So I moved Purple Nurple to 2, card number 2, right? You can see now it's in the second spot there. If I moved it again, it would be the last one. So now this is now the first book, this is now the second book, and this is now the third book. Sorry. 1, 2, and 3. And we can see that visually represented too in our card numbers here when we make that change, okay, which is kind of nice. You can also see it visually changed here in our binder as well. Now, if we don't want those structural changes to happen as we make them, the next best option is our freeform mode. Right here at the bottom right corner, you can see it says freeform corkboard. You know, it's really hard to see. If you can't find it for any reason, just come up to the help menu and type free form like so. And it'll take you to view corkboard options freeform. So once again, that was view corkboard options freeform. Go ahead and click that. Okay, and now you can see they're kind of already disarrayed a little bit. I can move these around freely any way I want. Now, the easiest way to look at this is with just these 3 cards. It does get a little bit more complicated when I have a bunch of cards on here, but you can see with 3 cards, it's pretty easy to do. I can move it around anyhow I want to. If I want to, I can still right click and add in another card if I wanted to, like this. This one doesn't have a label assigned or anything like that. There we go. I can easily move those around any way I want to. Let's say this is now number 1 again. This is number 2, and this is number 3. And actually, you know what? Let's put this one as number 2, like this. And notice how nothing has changed here, right? Everything is still fluid. Nothing changes until I commit to the new structure. So if I'm ready to commit, down here, bottom right corner, there's this little button. It says reorder the documents in the binder to match the order in the corkboard based on the corner position. So I'm going to click commit. I'm going to start at the top from left to right. Okay, now you can choose any one of these you want. You can start from the left, you can start from the bottom, you can start from the right, wherever you want to. In my case, I'm just going to keep it simple, start at the top, and we are going to move from left to right. So it's going to start Purple Nurple, book template, the red frog, and then blue glue. And you'll see these will change when I click OK. Boom, there you go. Now they have been changed to that order. It's just like that. As simple as that. So I can do this on any level. If I come in here, it does default me back to the linear corkboard. When I click inside here, I could switch that over to the freeform, like so, or I could switch back. Okay. Switching back and forth is really easier. Bottom right corner here, just click one of these two buttons to switch from freeform to our linear or default corkboard mode. Let's go back to our series folder. Freeform, I had no idea. I'm glad. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the freeform corkboard because we can kind of just do whatever we want. Make as many index cards as we want, put them in any order we want. We can kind of group similar ideas together. Oops, didn't mean to do that. You may have just saw me. I accidentally dropped a book inside here. That's not a default feature. You have to turn that one on. Let me I'm gonna quickly deactivate that. It can be nice to drag a card and drop it inside of it, but it can also be kind of annoying. Let's do drag and drop right there. So allow drop-ins into the corkboard. I'm gonna turn that off. If you wanted to turn that on, like see, so if you could turn it on, it would allow me to drop this inside. Sometimes it's nice, but sometimes you make mistakes like that where you accidentally drop in something you don't mean to. If you want to see that again, it's Scrivener, settings, behaviors, drag and drop. If you want to allow drop-ins, checking that box would allow you to drop it in. Let me show you, just so you can see what I accidentally did. It can be nice, like I said, but it also can be kind of annoying. So I accidentally dropped it in like that. Didn't mean to. It's not great if you're trying to group ideas together like this. So let's go ahead and pull this back out. So I'm going to turn that off again. Drag and drop. Checkbox that off. And now I can move things around freely here. Let's go back to our series title. I can even group related ideas together, right? Oops, I do something. Oh, yep, blue glue is right there. Blue glue. And they can kind of see these are kind of similar. These are not. And so I could leave it like that. And Scrivener will remember this, right? So if I switch to a different folder and I'm no longer in freeform, if I go back to my series title, it's still going to keep that order for me. Okay. Which is nice. Like that. Okay. So that's the freeform corkbook mode. Pretty easy to use, pretty simple. Highly recommend you take advantage of it. Give it a try. See if it works for you. See if you like it. See if it can work into your creative process. Now, the next up is our arrange by label. And this actually is probably my favorite corkboard mode. So you can see already we have some labels set up here. In fact, we have several labels available to us. If we went to our inspector here, let's switch back to the inspector. You can see if I go to my label button here, I have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and to do. I don't know why I have that to do there. Okay. Mistakenly added that, but we could easily delete that like so. Boom. Okay. And so there we go. We have all those colors there, and we can rename them whatever we want them to be. That's where they really become powerful when you give labels a name. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a second. But you can see we have several different options here. We're going to click OK to save those changes. Go back to our series title, and you can see all those are there. Okay. Now, currently, book template number 3 has no label assigned, right? So that's why it's on this kind of clear line here with nothing on it. So if I want to change it to red, I could. You can see it kind of previews red there, orange, yellow, green, blue, and that's the purple. Wherever I want to drag it. See how easy it was to just drag it from one label to another? A lot quicker than coming here and saying, oh, actually, I want to change that to green. And then I have to change it back. In the arrange by label view, I can just move it up and down. Now, what's really cool here, you could also change the order by where you place it. So if I wanted it before purple nurple, for example, it's not only has it been changed to red, but it's also been placed before purple nurple. Okay, see, that's how these line up. So this one comes first, second, third, fourth, and so on, right? And it would go on and on down if we have more books or more folders or more documents or more scenes or whatever and things like that. Likewise, too, I can drag this one over here, drag this one down here, kind of have everyone have its own thing. So you can imagine now how useful this might be if each of these lines represented a character, for example. Okay, now this is just one way of doing it. You could represent these lines as statuses. You could say, green could be done, red could be to do, yellow and orange could be in progress or something to the effect, or rewrite, whatever you want it to be. But I just found this to be really effective for keeping track of character plots. Now, to give you a better working example, I'm going to open up my Otter and the Amulet book project here. This is a book I've been working on. It's actually one I'm actually currently publishing to Substack here. You can see I'm in some chapter 5 revisions currently. But if I come over here to my series folder like this, let's make this big, and we switch over to my corkboard view. Okay, let's actually go inside of book 1 here. There we go. And this is, oh, let's see. I think I want to go into, yeah, part 1's fine. Yeah, this is part 1 right here. Okay, this is where it kind of gets a little, the numbering for me gets me a little, always confuses me a little bit. This is actually what this is. This is a prologue. It's showing it's card 1, card 2, card 3. And so for me, this is where cards numbering doesn't make as much sense for me. They actually confuse me a bit more. So I'm going to come and actually turn those off. Corporate options, turn off corkboard numbers. Now I can just know, okay, this is a prologue. This is 3 months later. This is my part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. Okay. And I have an epilogue. So I have a prologue and an epilogue and then a bunch of parts in the middle. So we'll go ahead and click part 1 here, Rise of the Shadow Marks. I'm going to double click that to get inside of it. Okay. And now here's where the arrange by label view becomes really, really nice. I can change this to arrange by label and I can see the arcs as we're going along. Okay. So right now we have Ned. So it's 3 chapters with Ned. Then Revelo jumps in here, the 3rd chapter, and you can see he comes after the first 3 chapters. And then we have a combined multi-viewpoint chapter. If you're wondering what that is, let's look at that. This is how I have mine set up. I have it set up as multi-viewpoints, Ned, Revelo, Nira, Ivel, Adeline, Grondel, and Caius. Okay, so each character has their own separate color assigned to them, and then I can actually see how they appear in my timeline, so to speak, in the arrange by label view, and I can see the order they appear in. You can see by that currently right now, Ned and Revelo, they're the core of this story, right? We don't have anything from any of these other characters yet in part 1. Okay. Now, whether that's good or bad, that's really a story question. That's a writing question. I had to figure that out. Initially, this book, when it first started out, to give you an idea, it had a lot of those characters here popping up. Let's actually go to some of my drafts here and look at that. So if we go to book 1, let's look at draft 4. Let's open this up to Rise of the Shadow Marks. Yeah, so we had a Nero chapter in there. We had more character stuff going on in these things, but you can kind of see how they lined up here. And so it allows me to see the order they are in. Okay, what comes before what, whose character art is what. And I can also see them individually, so I can see them together as one, or I could just follow the thread of one all the way through. Let's come back up to the actual draft. I'm going to close this up. I know this is a lot to look at here, so don't be too stressed out if you're like, what is all this, Oliver? It's a lot. Okay, let's come back up just to Rise of the Shadow Marks. Let's look at the Might one. This is part 2. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing. I can see that. Now, if I kept all of these arcs inside of one folder instead of separated into part 1, part 2, part 3, I could see it from beginning to end if I want to. Because I keep them in part folders, I only see it for that part. But personally, I like that. I like to kind of see it individually. I want to see how the part plays from start to finish because that's how I see my book. I see it as a building block. Each part builds on the last block, and I want to see how characters are looking and how things are looking from each building block that I'm working on. There you go. Just like that. Okay. And I can easily drag and drop these around anywhere I want to. I can move, if I have a multi-viewpoint scene, it actually turns out to be just a Revelo chapter. I can move that down. You can see when I do that, it actually previews the name of that character based on the label, which is really nice. So this is a really great way to keep track of timeline, to keep track of characters. And if you let's say you do flashbacks and things like that, that's where it's useful to drop into the card and say, hey, this is a flashback. It takes you back in time. Even though it may occur after this chapter, maybe it actually occurs before that chapter took place. That's where that summary or synopsis comes in to be really effective. You can kind of title flashback and be very like literal, like, hey, this is when this actually takes place. Okay. So super handy, super awesome. So Robert's asking, is it possible to replay the recording in a slower speed? Yes, you can do that. You'll be able to do that. On YouTube, they have the option there to slow things down, right? And I know that I'm not sure the Literature and Latte website one has one. I think it's through Zoom, so I'm not sure they have it, but I know YouTube does, so you can check that out. Okay, looking good. So that is our arrange by label. And if I wanted to switch from a horizontal view to a vertical view, right here, bottom right corner, I can display as columns instead. So if you prefer this kind of top to bottom, that's great. You can switch that just like that. You can also go to view. And actually, so let's go to view, corkboard options. Let's see here. Arrange by label layout right there. Any rows or columns. Okay, and that's how you would switch that back and forth. You can also click this little shortcut down here as well. The bottom right corner of your corkboard. Switch those back and forth. So there we go. Just like that. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and close it up. If we want to see a more simpler version of that, oops, I forgot. Sorry, it's going to back this up here. Let's see if there's anything I missed while that's backing up. Okay. Yep. Moving cards across the thread. So we talked about the linear form. We talked about our free form option, how to commit those to order, how to arrange by label both horizontally and vertically, how to move cards across the threads like that. Okay. Pretty simple, easy to do. But of course, if you have questions at the end, we'll look at it a bit closer if needed. Oh, that's a good point. Let's see. I'm going to turn that off for now. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and switch over to back to our presentation. Okay, which has disappeared, of course. There we go. And desktop 2 right there. And thank you for your patience with me, guys, while I get this switched over. Okay. So next up, we're going to talk about corkboard options. Okay, now that we've explored some different corkboard views or modes, it's time to personalize your workspace with corkboard options. And these settings allow you to design a layout that works best for your storytelling process. So let's take a closer look at what you can adjust. Okay, so we can adjust the corkboard size. That's our first option. This option lets us decrease or increase the size of your index cards on the corkboard. Next up is the ratio. This controls the proportion of your index cards, meaning how wide or tall they may appear. Now, if you want more, like, remember how I told you earlier, you could actually I use that, how the size of the card to reference how long my synopsis would be. So you could actually make it taller, right? So you could have a longer synopsis or summary appearing there in your corkboard. So it's just a matter of preference here. I'll show you how to do that. Next, we're going to talk about spacing. That determines how much room appear between your cards on the corkboard. And another great setting is cards across, that lets you determine exactly how many cards across appear. Now, that one, it'll kind of axe all your card size, ratio, spacing settings and stuff. So you only use that if you specifically want to have one or two or three, or the exact number of cards always showing across, but I'll show you how it works. And then finally, we have the ability to add keyword chips. And these are great if you want to visually tagging your cards with keywords from your project. That's helpful. Keywords are particularly helpful if you're trying to keep track of specific things. And it's useful for that question that people have a hard time finding stuff. Keywords is great to add to a document or a folder or a file to quickly tag it so you can easily search it and find it later. Okay. Well, let's do it. Let's see these options in action. Okay, we're still in the arrange by label view. I'm going to turn that off, but just clicking the arrange by label button in the bottom right corner here. Boom, like so. And we're going to look at our keyboard options. Really easy to get to. Bottom right corner, these four little index cards right there. So you can see it says Corkboard Options. Click that, and it'll open that up. You can increase the card size by dragging this, what do you call it? This slider right here. Okay. This can get really big, right? Huge, really big cards here, right? So personally, I find this to be a bit too big. I don't ever think I'll need a synopsis of this size, but the option is there. If you need it bigger, you can make it bigger, just like that. Okay. Now, personally, I like it right about there. We can adjust the ratio. This is a 6x4 card here. I can make it a 5x3 or 5x2. Now, I have nothing wrong with this. I'm personally always trying to shorten things up. I tend to be long-winded, write too much. I want these cards to be as useful as possible. So a 5x2 actually might make more sense for me. I want when I narrow that down and force myself to say, hey, I just want a synopsis that fits in this little section of my index card. That's it. Now, if you're like me though and you want more, you can have more. We can make that from a 6x4 to a 5x4, a 5x5, 5x6, 5x7, right? And 8 or 9. See, and those can get really long. And that's not even talking about card size. We can still make the card size bigger if we want to, or smaller like this. Okay. But personally, I like the 6x4. Maybe a little bit bigger than that, like that. Or about there. The default is pretty good for me. But if I were to change it, I probably would do a 5x3, maybe a 5x2. Actually, no, probably 5x3. That would be my ideal right there. Now the spacing right here, this slide bar allows you to determine how close the cards are together. So if you're on a smaller screen, you need more space, you can actually scoot these in together like so. That's as far as close as they get, right? Um, if I move my inspector, you can see how it dynamically changes with the size here. Same with my binder, right? Likewise, if I turn off my binder or I hide my inspector like this to make it full screen, it gives me more room. This is a nice view, so I can just kind of make it a little bit bigger, like so, and even give me a bit more space. Personally, I like more space than less. Actually, let's do right about there, like that. Now, alternatively, if we just want to tell Scrivener to say, hey, I always want to have X amount of cards across the screen, we can do that. So you can see cards across is currently set to auto, right? If I click that, I can change that from 1 to 2, all the way down to 10 or other. I can specify how many cards across I want. Now, I currently only have 4 cards, so that's the default, but I could do 1, okay? I could do 2, 3, 4, and if I had 5 or more, then it would do, I don't have any more. So let's go ahead and add some more here. And add these in real quick. So now we've got 5 across, and it's good that we have our numbering turned on so we can see that a bit better too. Let's go with 10. But you see, because my screen isn't that big, right? The more I do, the further I'm going to have to go across here like so. Okay. So personally, I like to keep it so it's all within view. So I'll change that back to maybe always keeping it 5 across like that. So that's a great way to make sure that you only always have so many cards across. On this screen, I think I can only reasonably fit about 6. Yeah, even that's a bit much. If I wanted to, maybe if I took my spacing down a little bit. Oh yeah. So if I did my spacing like that, yeah, that would be perfect. So you can see I can kind of mess with this spacing and kind of get it just how I like it so I can maximize my entire screen real estate here. In this case, I have my 1 through 7, right? And I could do more as the case might be, right? Okay. Now, keyword chips, that's controlled right here. You can see the current setting is 5. We can do all 20. Personally, typically I try not to overdo the keywords. I only put as many keywords as I feel are necessary. And the more you get, I feel like the less useful it becomes, especially in the corkboard view, having those appear there. But let's just add a few keywords so you can see what that might look like. So I'm going to go over to the metadata tab here. That's the middle tab in my inspector. Right here is the keywords tab. I can just click a plus button to add a keyword. This is one of the book templates. Looks like book 1 there. And we'll just add a keyword to do. Okay. Make it simple. It could be anything you want. It could be a character. It could be a status. It could be a plot point. Let's add one in. Let's do this like opening image. So if I have multiple viewpoint characters, I may have multiple opening images. And so I may want to assign that like so. And so I could come here and do that. Okay. But just to give you an example of what this might look like, let's go ahead and do that here. Two chips. Why is it not showing up here? Hmm. Show project keywords. Let's try showing a bunch of. Let's go into right here. And let's drag and drop these on like so. For some reason, keyword chips are not showing up today. So that's something I'll have to look into. That's strange. Yeah. Normally they would just appear right here in the corner of the card. So little boxes of color. And so you can imagine if you had tons of keywords, it could be a bunch of little boxes on the side of your image. For some reason, I'm not sure why that's not showing up. Maybe it's because I don't have the view turned on. Let's see here. Let's see. Corkboard options. Show keyword colors. There we go. Yep. Okay, I think that's what it was I was missing. Yep, that's it. And yep, so that was what it was. Sorry, guys. So it was view, corkboard options, show keyword colors right there. Okay, so that was turned off. That's why we didn't see anything. Okay. And if we come back here, let's go back. I wondered why that wasn't working. You can see there, those two have been assigned. And so for me personally, I get them confused. I'll have this one here. I won't remember my keyword colors as well as I remember my label colors. So depending on how you use keywords and if it makes sense for you, maybe you don't use labels as much, you use keywords more, or you want to have multiple keywords assigned to your folders and your chapters and your scenes, however the case may be, that may be useful for you or may not be. Either way, you can still assign the keywords and just have them not show up here. Totally up to you. They're going to view, show keyword colors, either turn it off or turn it on, right? And you can adjust how many show up on the index card by going to the corkboard options here and then selecting how many you want to see. So in this case, we only had 2 showing because that's all there were. But if we had 3, it would have shown up to 3. If you had more than 3, it would not show more than 3. And likewise, all the way up, you can show them all 20, 15, 10, 8, etc., all the way down, whatever makes sense for you. Okay. So there we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Well, that is the corkboard options there. I think we have just 2 more things to look at, and then we're going to call it good. Actually, you know what? Just one more. One more thing to look at. Okay. Stop sharing for a second. And we'll get back to our corkboard options here. Okay. So next up, let's just look at what an example workflow might look like. How might I outline in the corkboard here? So here's where the magic of Scrivener's corkboard really comes to life, creating an outline. Now, the corkboard isn't just about brainstorming and organizing. It's also about a really powerful tool for organizing your entire manuscript or project. So we'll walk through how to make the most of it by bringing it all together. Okay, so we can select our manuscript folder. We can toggle onto that corkboard view, varying your modes as needed. We can add synopsises to index cards. We can rearrange and add move scenes as needed. And the last thing, the main thing I want to show you here, we've kind of done a lot of this already. The main thing I want to show you here is how could I print this out if I wanted an analog approach. Okay, I think I kind of skipped ahead here and did some of this stuff already. But let's take a look at that. How would we print out the corkboard outline if you wanted to take what you've created in Scrivener and kind of look at it physically? Really easy to do, actually, not hard at all. There we go. Okay. So let's say I wanted to print out this outline just like this. Okay. Really, really simple. I can use Command P or Control P on a PC. And it'll take me to this option right here. You can see they're already formatted nicely. Three index cards per page. And I could print them out just like that. It does include my label coloring there, everything. In this case, we just have 3 pages. I could just print that out. And so what it is doing is just printing out the corkboard that I have selected. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to our show binder option here. You see, so basically everything in our series title here, that's what will be printed out. Now I'm going to use my actual live project as an example because I think it's a better example than what we have there. Go back to the otter and the amulet here. Make that bigger. Okay. This is the Mark of the Shadow book. This is draft 6. Okay. In case you're wondering what that D6 stands for, it's draft 6 that we're working on. And so I'm going to go ahead and right now I'm just going to print out what I have selected. Okay. Command P or Control P for a PC. You can see here it just has the prologue and then each part. And I have that 3 months later there too, all the way down to the epilogue here. Now, if I wanted more than that, I could come here and actually hold down my shift key and hold down my arrow key and select more. Okay, like this. In fact, actually, to do even more than that, what I actually need to do is open up each of these folders like so. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah. So open up all the folders. I know this is a lot. This is a long novel. A lot of different chapters, a lot of different folders. Okay. If I want to do all of that, I probably even need to. There's a cool little tool to make this a bit quicker for us. I can right click here, add my expand all and collapse all buttons there. Let's just click it and do expand. There we go. Now this does expand everything in my binder, but it's good. We can do that. So now I've got all the scenes, everything. As I select them holding down here, I can print off everything by selecting it all like this. Oops. Yep, there we go. Now, when you have chapters and folders and scenes, you can see this gets to be quite long, but still, if I wanted everything, this is how I would do it. Okay. So there we go. Now we can see it's about 47 pages. I think if we do that by 3 times 47, that's about 141 index cards that I'd be printing out from all my parts, chapters, and scenes. Okay. And I think there were even a couple where I broke up a few scenes into some beats, right? So I could see all these here. Some of them I have, even though I've written this whole thing, like I said, I'm more of a pantser than I am an outliner. I typically only outline the sections I actually really need, I'm struggling with. And so you can see that I have some blank cards where I have like names, but I don't have an actual synopsis of what's going on in that chapter. Okay, just a general idea. And some cards, it looks like they even went long, and that's why they're, they couldn't all fit on one index card like this one right here. It was a lot going on in that index card. So I could turn this into a PDF if I wanted to, right click by clicking this button. I'm going to call this my mark of the shadow outline. Why not? Even add corkboard view like so. I'm going to save that to my desktop so we can easily find that. So there it goes, and save that. Let's get a closer look at this. Now there is some pre-printed index cards you can buy from like Office Depot or something else that would work. I think they're the Avery format. I don't know if Catherine, if you're able to pull up the exact name. There is an exact brand that you can buy that works really well with this specific template here. But you can also just print them out in some cardstock or even just on regular paper and cut them out too. You can see how that looks like. So, yeah, looks pretty good actually. You can see any card that went over that space, it does come in as a separate index card. So I had a couple cards. Oh, I went too far, where I had a lot going on there, and so it's I think it's a good idea. I would recommend trying to keep your synopses short so you don't end up with situations like that where, like I have here, where I've gone well beyond the mark. In this case, I was so close. Just need to cut out a little bit more of that one so it didn't end up on its own index card. But that's how you would get that out. I could then print that to any printer I wanted. I can use either a pre-cut Avery index card printing paper, or I can just print it on paper and cut it out myself, however you want. I just love that we have the option here to go analog. Sometimes when you create something in a digital system like this or a digital app, you feel like, oh, it's kind of stuck on here, it's trapped in here. Well, with Scrivener, it's not. If you want to take a more analog approach, you want to actually get out your physical corkboard, hang it up on the wall, and move things around, Scrivener gives you the option to do just that. And so I love that we get that nice, lovely looking corkboard view. Just like that. And you don't have to do everything like I did just like that. You could literally just select sections of your project and just do those sections. This is all the parts. This is the prologue. This is part 1, right? Et cetera, et cetera. We can just push that Command P or Control P on a PC and we can print those out. You can see it's a lot shorter when we just break it up in chunk by chunk by chunk. There you go. Yeah. So now we could go through more about how we could use the corkboard to do that, to outline and do that stuff, but I'm going to save that for another day. I think we're kind of getting overtime anyway. Yeah, we're almost 15 minutes after the hour. And so I want to save some time for our Q&A in case there's any questions I haven't answered or any confusion that has come up as I've gone through the demonstration today. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second and get us on track. We just have a few more things to cover, and then we're going to open it up for that Q&A. So here we go. Share screen. Here we go. Desktop 2. Perfect. Okay. So every day I am so inspired by your passion and your dedication as writers trying to hone your personal craft. And I appreciate you all coming here today with that effort, with that desire to learn and supporting you on your journey as an author or as a writer or whatever it is you're doing, your career, as the case may be. I love watching your growth. It's truly, truly rewarding. Now, looking for more resources that I personally recommend, you can head over to ojevanson.com/links to explore everything you need to take your writing to the next level. And if you're not already part of the Turning Writer into Authors community yet, join today by subscribing to my insider newsletter and unlock exclusive perks like Scrivener tools, writing training, and my free Scrivener starter novel template. So I'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat for you. Let's see here real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Here it is, baby. There we go. So there's that. Oops. You can use that to get access to all of our support materials and things, including my free starter novel template. We have a full webinar library, user form, user manuals, blogs, and video tutorials. You can access those at literatureandlatte.com and ojevanson.com/tools. Full knowledge and a full knowledge base as well. So check those out. If you want to catch up on previous webinars, if you want to connect with other writers and Scrivener users, head out to those places. We'll get you the resources you need because we have tons of great resources for you guys to get you where you need to go. Just check out literatureandlatte.com and ojevanson.com/links. I have links to all those great resources available in those sections. So check that out. Okay, so what's next? So this is just the beginning of our Scrivener webinar week. We have so much more to come. 2 more events this week, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. But the one that's coming up next, I'm particularly excited about. I feel like I will even learn a lot from this session. It's always great to learn from an industry veteran. We're going to I'm going to ask you to join me this Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 at 1 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. UK for a special guest webinar with Jane Friedman, where she'll be discussing the business of writing, what she wished every writer knew. And I've researched a lot of Jane's stuff. I've read a lot of her stuff. I'm even in the process of reading her book right now. She really knows what she's talking about. So join us then. If you don't have that, we'll get you that link. If you have any questions, just hang tight. If you, we'll get you that stuff and get you going. It's going to be a great event. Yeah, she is freaking awesome. Yep, she is amazing. So I'm so excited when she said she was gonna. When I reached out to her and said, "Hey, would you join us?" and she said yes, I was like, "Yes, thank you so much. So excited to have you coming." So here we go. Now it's time to open the floor for any questions you may have. I'm happy to address any concerns or confusing regarding Scrivener and its features, as well as provide tips and advice for using it effectively in your writing. So don't be shy. Ask away. Feel free. Those emails are right there. If there's links you didn't get or problems you run into, this is the place to look to. If you have questions related specifically to the webinars and what I'm doing and the content and things you'd like to see, send me an email at contact@ojevanson.com. I'll get back to you on those. If you have more specific questions, or actual technical questions, reach out to Scrivener/Mac, Scrivener/Win, Scrivener/Mobile, or Scapple@literatureandlatte.com. And one of our dedicated technical support agents will help you out with those questions. Okay. Perfect.
Oliver, in the
Yes.
Q&A, there is a question from someone who wants to use the corkboard for nonfiction and asked if you had any thoughts on that. So I
That
saved that one just for you.
Just for me. Great. Well, it's been a minute since I've used Scrivener for academic purposes, if I'm being honest with you, since college, which is about about 7 years ago now. But yes, of course, there are tons of great ways we can use Scrivener for academic purposes like essays, for Substack, or academic research, for example. That's a great question. Let me switch over to that now and we'll take a peek right real quick. Stop share. Let's jump into desktop 1. Move that out of the way. Let me grab a drink real quick too. So a lot of this starts out with what type of template you choose. Nonfiction is what we're going to be looking for if we're doing academic or research related or nonfiction material of any kind. Okay. We have already some great default templates set up. So we have a Chicago style essay right here. We have a general nonfiction. We have a general nonfiction in LaTeX. If you're familiar with that, great. If you don't worry about it. It is kind of deep concept. Paper, APA style, MLA style. We have a research proposal template and an undergraduate humanities essay. So these are some great places to begin, especially if you already know you're going to be writing an APA, MLA, or Chicago style, all of which I wrote a lot when I was in college and in high school as well. MLA, got to know that one pretty well. APA, Chicago style, definitely more in college, if especially if you're an English major like I was. Now, personally, though, I'll be frank with you. Typically, what I do, even if I wasn't writing a novel, and I have several projects that are not novel related, that are more nonfiction related, I still often start with like a blank template. I rarely just jump into and use one of these nonfiction templates, just me personally, unless I'm writing in specific style, like APA, MLA, and or Chicago style. So in this case, I'm just going to select a general nonfiction here real quick. Maybe we'll do one of each real quick so you can see what that looks like. We'll just call this general nonfiction. So you can kind of see what the structure would look like. Okay. So we can come to our manuscript folder here. We have a foreword, we have a chapter. Okay. It's as simple as that. There's not much going on here. And that's why it would be very easy to use a blank template as well as this section template. We have some notes, we have ideas, we have a research, we even have a sample nonfiction manuscript here. Can I give you what it might look like? This is the foreword, right? Contents, title page, etc. Okay. Chapter one, so on. Let's look at one of the, let's do APA. So, okay. So we have a paper here. So we have a title page, abstract, okay, introduction, our main content, sorry, method, participants, research design, measures, procedure, etc. And so we could view all of this in the corkboard mode, just like this, okay? If I wanted to jump into my main content, I double click that. There's my method, results, discussion. Double click to go inside the method, right? And likewise, I could still use my same modes I had before. I can move things around anyhow I want to. Okay. I could use my arrange by label view and move things onto my labels. Of course, I would want to have some good labels set up. Okay. Now I'm going to be honest with you. Nonfiction is not my expertise. I don't deal with a lot of nonfiction personally, so I don't have a lot of great uh, recommendations on say, hey, use it for this or use it for that. But hopefully, you can still apply some of those ideas that we discussed today and use some of those tools in a way that makes sense for you as a nonfiction writer or as someone who writes essays. Now, as someone, I saw you mention Substack. And so when I think of Substack, I think of, if whether I'm writing an essay, a collection of essays, or I'm writing blogs or articles or whatever you want to call them. Typically, I'll start with something really simple, like a blank template like this. In fact, yeah, let me just show you what I have. So I have a little project. I call it the Inkwell. Let's see if I can find it here. It's not there. And so this is where I keep all my essays or things that I work on personally for my Substack. Okay, so I keep it separate from other stuff I use. Right there, the Inkwell. This is my blogs and articles. And so I have like a little page here where I keep track of my upcoming writing projects, things that I'm working on, things I'm thinking about writing about. Doesn't mean I'm going to write them, but just something that has kind of popped in my mind. I'm like, oh, I want to write that. That'd be fun to write about. And I break it up by platform. So I have like my website, my turning writers into authors platform, and then my author platform where I actually publish my books and things like that. And so what I write for each platform is going to be a little bit different. So I've broken those up. I could use a corkboard like this. In fact, I can see I have paid or free for this one, right or posted for this one. And this is kind of just, this whole nonfiction thing I'm working on here is very much a work in progress of what I'm doing here. Okay. This is not a finished product, but you can see kind of how I've kind of got things set up here. But to be honest, I don't use the corkboard too much in this mode when I'm writing my nonfiction stuff. I use it more for my planning for my fiction, when I'm planning a long project where there's interconnecting ideas. I guess if you're writing a collection of essays of series, maybe where they all kind of relate to each other, that make more sense. But right now, all the projects I'm working on, they might have some similar features where they draw together. I haven't put together any core ideas for like, hey, these guys belong together. I probably should, so I could see the connections and maybe do something more with them as I put them together. Right now they're just like a smattering of ideas. But yeah, you could definitely do something like that where you're like, okay, let's let's kind of figure out where things go, and I could use the corkboard for that. Maybe I want to look at all my articles. Maybe I want to pull them out and pull them out all into one thing like this and then just view them all and say, okay, what connections can I make here? And use the freeform corkboard to kind of draw similar conclusions. So like if this one's all about, how to get reading and how to get started reading Brandon Sanderson, for example, maybe I have other similar ideas that kind of link in with that post across platforms. I don't know. That would be something to explore, right? Um, yeah, and I could also use like in this case, I have labels. I have a scrap that's to do, an in progress, a done, a posted slash scheduled. That's how I've been keeping track of my statuses. So when I'm using nonfiction, usually I use label for status. I don't use it for keeping track of viewpoint characters, things like that. So, and for my status, I repurpose that to free or paid. So like if I'm doing a paid article versus a free article on my Substack, I may mark it. This one is paid, this one is free, and I can see that visualized either here, um, whether it's done or whether it's not. Now that I'm thinking about it, it might even be a good idea to move this over here too, or maybe make these keywords so I could see that, hey, these ones are free or paid and have that keyword listed here. See, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, it's a lot of times there's a lot of inner workings going on here as I think through this and I think through the problem, like, okay, what could I do to make this easier for me to see visually, right? And so in this case, this one's done, right? But maybe this was a free article right here, right? So I could make this a keyword. Let's do that. Add keyword, free, right? And let's change the color too. Free should be green, right? And so then I could add that on there like so. Let's go to view, corkboard options, show keyword colors. There we go. So now I know not only is this one done, but it also was a free article, right? And if I had a paid one, let's say it's a paid article, whether someone's paying me or I got paid for my Substack or whatever else, let's do that as I don't know, let's do blue. Why not? I like blue. Green actually probably would make more sense for paid because green is usually associated with money, but whatever. Whatever makes sense to you is totally fine. And so then I could have a second article here. Let's pull out another one. Let's go pull that guy up here like so. Boom, back in here. Okay, also done, right? I could mark that one. Let's pretend that one was paid, right? And so you can see now how I could visualize this in my range by label. I can see where I'm at, what's being worked on, right? And what is currently done, what was paid, what was free, kind of how I'm balancing that. Am I writing more paid posts than free posts? This gets me thinking, gets me having a lot of questions about what's going on and how I'm building my brand, my business, whatever the case may be, whatever you're doing. Now, whether you're an academic writing, a collection of essays or a research paper or whatever, or you're, writing a big nonfiction book, you kind of have to find a way to make these lovely tools that Scrivener has to offer use work for you. And there really isn't any right or wrong way to do this. You just gotta find it makes sense. You see, as I was doing this, now that I've discovered this, now that we've talked about this and someone asked me this question, it hadn't occurred to me to think, hey, do I want to visually see this represented in the corkboard? Up to this point, I hadn't really wanted to do that. But now having done this, I'm like, hey, this actually will be really nice. If I just move all my articles instead of breaking them up like this directly inside my binder like so, I can move them in like this. Let's see here if I can. Let's just pull everything out so I can show you what I'm going to do because this is actually what I'm going to do now. Bum, bum, bum. Let's pull this out. I'm gonna delete this. Yeah, delete that. Yeah, let's pull these out. Yeah, delete that. If you're wondering how I'm deleting these so quickly, I'm using Command Delete. You can also just click this trash button right here. But I want to save. I want to get some other questions because this is taking me longer to get through than I thought it would. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now I have all my blogs and articles in one single place. I can see them all here, right? Like so. This one is to do, not done yet. This is just a free post that I haven't done anything else. This is just a limitation I gave myself. Any post considered less than 500 words will be considered a free post. It's not really an arbitrary rule I create for myself. It's not necessarily true or even what I do. something I've kind of been exploring with. But I could then come here, take these, right? Add a new post. Doesn't have to be free or paid or whatever. Like so. And then I could come in and make those assignments here um, with keywords, right? And I probably would even want to come to my templates here and say, okay, this template is a free post, so I probably want to add in the actual keyword here. Oops. Free, and this one's the paid post. Paid. So every time I create from that template, it automatically has those assigned, and I can actually visually see that represented. So this one probably will pretend it's a paid post. Just for our sake, I'll probably change it later, but where is it? Keywords. So there we go. Drag and drop that on, and then I can visually see that what's going on here. And this is where the keywords on the corkboard would make sense to me. If I only have like two keywords or three keywords, just a few that I just need to see, that would make sense rather than having tons of keywords from like I don't even know what color is what and what's going on where and how that might work. I like this personally. If I were to write a collection of essays or something, I might have a few folders here for each collection, right? But ultimately, I'm going to have these all together. So, like this. And it might even be easier to just come in here and say, hey, I'm also going to add in like an author platform keyword as well. Let's see that. Yeah, so this one actually wasn't an author platform. This was a TWIA, turning writers into authors. Oops, I can't spell. Platform, like so, right? And we'll delete this guy here. You can see, even though I got rid of it, it's still there. Delete that. Okay. Probably be better to make these in here. I might even come in here and do some organization. So platform, right? So I have TWIA, author, and then I'm going to add one more. This is my website, ojevanson.com, like so. And then I could assign these to each. And then I could also see visually, okay, this one goes to this platform, this one goes to this platform, and this one is this color. Although I'll have to get my coloring schemes figured out too. So this would probably be an orange. This one will probably be, let's do a red. If I could spell, boy, platform. And this one would probably be this kind of dark blue like this. And then I would probably need to change this one. Let's make this one green, bright green. Let's make free. Let's do orange. No, already got orange. Let's do purple, like so. And then I can, if I kind of match these up in my head, I know what's what. The platform one doesn't matter as much. It's just a filler to keep these organized. Free, paid, platform, and I can identify by color what is what, what's going on where with those keywords. Anyway, so I know that was kind of a long-winded answer, but hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what you might do from a more non-fiction perspective versus a fiction perspective, especially if you're just writing really short articles versus long novels that have a lot of interconnecting blocks. Okay, let's see. That was a long answer. Thank you, Marie. Let's see what if we can look and see if there's anything else I can get to. Can you
There
set
were
print?
also a
Go
couple
ahead.
questions about index cards that I
Yes.
left since there were several of them. I thought you could just answer them all at once.
Okay, let's see. Please repeat how to choose the insert card to print. Okay, so I saw someone's. Can you? Mickey's asking, could you please repeat how to choose the index card to print out to Avery? Okay, so that one. I don't know if let's see. Let's go to File. Then we go to Page Setup, and we're gonna. There's this little Scrivener box here. Okay, we're gonna click that little arrow. We're gonna go to Index Cards. Okay, I think. Let's see here if this is what I wanted or not. Well, this allows us to include titles and bolden titles, highlight title. Okay, this gives us more options here for what we print out. We can add card numbers if we want. We can include keywords if we want. We can ignore cards with titles only. Print cutting line. Okay, that's the cutting lines. I thought there was a option here to adjust that. It's been a minute. I haven't really messed with changing the index card printing here. But I think let's just try printing it out and see what it gives us. Print, yeah. I think if you have, you can, it gives you like, unfortunately, all this stuff right here that we're seeing here, this is the print options from Mac and PC. They're going to be a little bit different on Mac and PC, and it's going to give you different options of things you can print out for. It also will depend on the printer itself you're using. Um, so it gets a little tricky as to what you have and what I have may be different. Um, let's see if there's anything else we have here. No, but just give me printer info. I can change how many pages per seat if I wanted to, which would, uh, I think they're already set up. Let's see if I can even find it in the Scrivener manual here to print off to a specific. Yes, there they are right here. The formatting has been optimized to work with Avery perforated index cardstock, but you can use any paper with a chopping block or scissors to cut the cards apart as desired. So even the feed in the so or even feed in regular index cards if your printer supports front loading paper feeds and heavy stock. So you could do that. That's the options there. That's the type of paper you're looking for is Avery perforated index card stock. Okay, if you're looking for this specific brand, that's the one that this was optimized for. Personally, I've never done that. I've never tried that out. I usually I'm pretty low tech when it comes to analog stuff. I grab my printer, I grab my printer paper, I stick it in, whatever works, and I just cut it out. But if you want a thicker cardstock, you may want to. Well, it depends on your printer whether it can print that out. Um, but assuming it can, get a thicker cardstock or get the Avery perforated index cardstock, and you can print that out, and it'll already have that kind of perforated. It'd be easier to remove and cut out and stuff. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see. Can we help? Okay. Look at that. Brett's asking, what was the Save the Cat logline card I saw on your computer screen? Well, that's a good question. Let's see here. I pulled that. Let's see if I have that here, or where was that? This one right here. So this is a little template I created based off of the Save the Cat uh, logline or premise sentence. I think that's talked about in Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody. So she goes in that in length. So if you want to check out how she does it, and how it works, by all means do. That's what this is based off of. But basically, it pulls this side together. This is the template on the verge of a status equals death moment. A flawed hero breaks into two, but when the midpoint happens, they must learn the theme stated before all is lost. And this is just one way of looking at how to create a good log line to determine whether you have a working story, right? And so I even think this is the one she uses. Um, yeah, the girl on the train. I'm pretty sure I pulled that direct from the book. So you could find this exact example in the book. You could create your own examples. The idea is it was just to give me an idea of, okay, how can I create my own log line using this template here? And this is the log line. This is the instructions, etc., and how to do that. So it's just a little template I made to help me create my own log lines for my own books. Um, I find it to be, I don't know, it works pretty well. I like it. It's not my favorite. I've messed around with different kind of premises, sentences, or log lines. I think this is really good for to get you started. So yeah, you can check that out. Hopefully that helps you out. Okay. Let me see if I missed anything else. Nope. Okay, looks like we got all those questions answered and good to go. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I know we're about 20 minutes after the hour, a little bit longer than I expected. We had a lot of great questions, got a good turnout. So thank you so much for that. I'm gonna wrap it up with this. I just want to say, let me stop sharing real quick so I can actually see my notes. Yeah, where'd you go? There we go. Okay. So, as we conclude today's session, I just want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each of you for dedicating your time and energy to this event. Your active participation has been truly inspiring, and it's an honor to support you all on your writing journey. Um, I hope the insights and tools today empower you to elevate your writing craft with Scrivener. And please remember, our commitment to supporting your creative endeavors doesn't stop here. Our team is always available to assist you as you explore and harness Scrivener to its full potential. So be sure to stay connected with us. Be sure to check out our upcoming webinar series and things that are going on this week and in the coming months for more educational and inspiring content. Until next time, write on and stay creative.